The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Tim Singleton from Achievement Solutions, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend our webinar. For those of you that are not familiar with Achievement Solutions or our Resolv Desktop applications, they are both certified by SAP for both SAP Business One SQL as well as HANA. We have a total of 20 different modules. And the way we have designed the system, these are independent modules that you can buy as a single or multiple modules, or you can buy the whole solution. But one of the advantages that I believe that we have is that it's all within a single add-on. So from a resource perspective, it's not running multiple add-ons on the customer server. And all of the modules are integrated with each other. So you have a single source solution that you can present to your customers. And what I'm going to do today is kind of give an overview of our modules. Let me kind of do a quick walkthrough of the modules. We have our AR collections, which enhances the standard accounts receivable module for Business One. So we have collection tracking documents, which we'll talk about. We have a sales order approval system, which enhances SAP's approval process. Key things like a cash receipts forecast that will look at the customer's average days to pay over a certain time period and help your customers get better idea of cash flow and improve their cash flow based off of historical payments by these customers when you can project a receipt of payments. We have container management for import exporters that allows you to track products that are on the water. So if you have customers that do bring in products from overseas, we have a real nice container management system that really sits between purchase order entry and PO goods receipt. Our cross-sell, and you essentially have a base item, then you can assign additional cross-sell items to upsell. You choose the specific sales documents that you wish to have it appear. A small minor feature that we have, which is useful for doing analysis, we provide an ID number that is stored on the transaction line item level when the cross-sell items are selected. Our data messenger is a alerts and document delivery system. The thing that makes it a bit more powerful than standard B1 alerts is these alerts can go to external users and they can be triggered based off of queries, different statuses within a document. Our data messenger obviously can be done on a scheduler that we'll talk about. But when you look at our data messenger setup, it could be transactional specific, it could be on a purchase order, it could be on the add, the change, the delete. In addition to sending out your alerts via print, fax, email, where you could also upload these reports or you could upload data. So it's a good way if customers want to have their quotes sent into an Excel file or something like that. We also have an embedded EDI solution. So you can do your 810s, your 850s, your 856s, all within the Business One system. That could be run manually where there's a user screen, which I'll show you. Instead of having these EDI transactions flow automatically in and out of the system, we have a series of screens that lets you preview the transactions before you send them out or bring them in. Or again, if you're more comfortable with it, then you could have it use our scheduler to time when you want to send and receive those transactions. Our freight management system. Currently, we have a freight management system that integrates to a number of different carriers. UPS, Federal Express, DHL, and so forth. We have become a ConnectShip partner, and with ConnectShip are a multi-carrier shipping. We'll be able to offer over 200 carriers for integration, local, regional, national, and global. You'll also be able to enhance the shipping experience for your customers where they will be able to do multiple carriers for a single shipment, so one carrier for point A, another carrier for point B. And since it's going to be a live feed into Business One, we're going to be capturing a lot more information about time, date, and statuses of the transactions within the carrier. Our in-transit system is also called gate entry. In-transit is useful for both inbound transactions and outbound transactions. And where a good example might be is if you have a truck that's been delivered to your organization as a distributor, but it's not yet in the warehouse, and the warehouse is busy, and we have a few trucks that's in the yard or people have dropped trailers off. That is a perfect example where if you do want to get visibility to what's physically on the property, but not yet in the warehouse, the in-transit is a good use for that. Also, if you're on the outbound side sending products and there's a long delivery time, days or weeks, whatever it might be on the sales side, the in-transit also is a good feature for the outbound transactions. Inventory planning, what that does is that adds in a level of extra replenishment functionality to Business One. SAP, I believe, has done a very good job in enhancing the MRP over the last few releases. What our inventory planning does, in a nutshell, it incorporates the replenishment functionality of Gordon Graham and John Schreibfeder. So a lot of distributors subscribe to those individuals as far as their replenishment rules. We have a comprehensive equipment rental for equipment quotes, equipment orders, equipment invoices. You do tie it to SAP service module. You do have products that you are renting long-term, but you need to have some type of maintenance on those products. The integration that we've developed with the service program usually is sufficient for most companies. Order reservations allows you to pre-allocate items from incoming purchase orders, transfers, productions, containers, and it will allow people to allocate quantities against those transactions for customers' quotes, sales, and AR reserve invoices. Quality control allows you to put a QC parameter and processes for specific customers, vendors, single items or groups of items. So under this example, we have consumer electronics, but specifically the new Samsung S8. We want to have an inspection policy. A visual, is the color appropriate? Is it gold? Or are we going to have a range of a test? We're using a machine to do some type of attention, or the new one is waterproof. So if you have a water test, what type of sampling are we doing? Are we doing a percentage of the receipt or the batch or a certain number? You could also set up QC processes for specific vendors. So if you're bringing on a new vendor, you may want to have all their items performed with QC, or if it's a customer, the same example. And then you have which particular transactions you're going to perform QC against: POs, returns, productions, and so forth. We have a style program, which is ideal for the apparel industry, so we'll give you the style, size, color matrix that you could have within whichever specific marketing documents you wish to utilize. Our 3PL is for distributors that are utilizing 3PLs for their warehouses and fulfillment. It's one of our more popular modules, and an indicator on the warehouse master that is going to be a 3PL warehouse. And then we have the different rules and the mappings that we set up. We can have sales orders, purchase orders. We can synchronize customers, vendors, items, both inbound and outbound transactions, and it's a little bit like an EDI type of system. It can support data formats. We have customers that receive their orders electronically. Once they pass the approvals, they're going directly to the 3PL, who are picking, packing, and shipping, and then they're updating it electronically back through our 3PL and automatically turning those transactions into deliveries and or invoices based on how they've configured it. We have had many companies who've actually taken the 3PL and have used it to integrate to other solutions, such as like an e-commerce system. And finally, the warehouse management. It is designed, Fiori is an HTML design environment. It can run on iPads, Droid devices, and it's not limited to those devices. A lot of the hardware manufacturers are now producing their typical industrial scanners to support the Android operating system. If you are interested in this and you are showing it to customers, we always have to look at the hardware. We'll be more than happy to tell you if their existing hardware is sufficient for our system. Our order-to-cash system is an extremely popular module. It is a module that users in every department end up utilizing for a variety of reasons. There's currently 3 components to our order-to-cash. There's a customer inquiry, a vendor inquiry, and an item. We are in process of developing a WMS inquiry, which will give a tremendous amount of visibility into the status of orders and transactions and pickers and packers into the warehouse in a real-time view. So you will be able to get live information about who's picking what orders, the status of those orders, all from these screens plus a new one. We also have a sales and purchasing analysis screen. So briefly, I'm going to just walk you through the customer inquiry screen. All of the 3 screens that we currently have are designed with the same model. That model is a design of filters on the top. So you have the information that you want to select and populate the grid below. From here, as a business owner, I could look at all of the open quotes for my company. So I'm looking at a status of open quotes. I could do closed quotes. If I don't want to use the golden arrows and I do just want to look at the details of a line, of all the line items, I hit show item details, and it will show you all the line item details for the quotes that I've selected. You'll also notice over here, if you want to look at reserved items, unreserved, or both. And then I could now start to look at specific customers. So if there's a scenario where I'm on the phone with Amazon and I want to discuss some of their orders, I'm now working on Amazon. I could do it by salesperson, date range, warehouse, a lot of different options here. And perhaps Amazon is calling me because some of their orders have been placed on hold, which those orders that are on hold. Or did we do the reservations for them for some of their important items? Since it's Amazon and they may find us, we may look to utilize that stock reservation feature so that we can make sure that inbound orders have Amazon orders allocated against them. So you have a lot of different options there. Most of the tabs here are standard SAP transactions, so I'm not going to get into anything that you already realize. So you can scroll through them left and right. Moving across, you'll see here our EDI. So if you do want to look at all of your 850s, 856s, 810s for customers, we have the same functionality on the vendor side. And you're just going across, starting at quote all the way going to payments and activities. We've included opportunities if you want to position this as an enhancement to the CRM. So if you want to look at open or closed activities for all customers, if you're a salesperson, you can kind of get that information here as well. And finally, we have a new feature that we've already made some changes to. So the release that we are going to be sending out to the Business One community at the end of this week will have the updated version of the screen. But this screen also sometimes is referred to as an order pad. And quite often companies have customers that contact them and say, what's my price? How much do you have on hand? And this screen for the pricing and availability is designed to do that. The updated version, we've moved the price column to be first, and we've also added a capability to enter in quantities. So if there is a conversation going on, perhaps the customer's not ready to place a quote or order, but they do want to say, hey, I need to order 10, I think I'm going to order 5 of these. You can enter them here. The system will save it, and at any point in time, the user can come back in, and there'll be some new buttons at the bottom that will say convert to quote, convert to order, and it will create the quote and the order and populate the lines of that quote or order for that customer with the quantities that they've entered. Bit of information that we have here, we've added in SAP's alternative items available to promise and past sales. So again, the objective is you're talking as a salesperson, you're talking about pricing, negotiating back and forth, making that information all available within this screen. Finally, before we finish up on the order to cash on the customer side, if you have our collection tracking system and you're talking to a customer about some open invoices while you're here, so perhaps we're talking to Centerport Components, there's an open collection call for this customer, and in here we will have the documents that are associated to this collection tracking. The system can automatically create these collection tracking documents based off of parameters that are set up. While I'm in this screen, I can look at the customer's aging. So they went on hold because we had $200 go over 60 days. But overall, you can see their payment history has been solid over the past several years. We can look at their open orders, deliveries, and account balance to give a total AR exposure here. So for communication with the customer, we have a call log. It's really communication, could be email, could be fax, who you've spoken to, if they have promised to make a payment, the date and the amount, and the system will take a look at the incoming payments, and if we don't get a dollar amount equal to or larger than the amount that's indicated, the system will flag it yes or no. And this is our customer inquiry. Very briefly, I'll touch on the vendor inquiry. And our own policies here, and we find it effective, is we demonstrate the order to cash screens very early in the demonstration. Usually we cover the typical desktop and cockpit and all the unique advantages of Business One, and then we're going into the order to cash, which again can give companies a real good look at what we can provide them without going into 5 different screens, and it gives a good snapshot. The only other transaction I do want to show on the vendor inquiry is the container program. So again, quotes, orders, in transit, receipts. And over here is a filter. So if I want to look at all the orders that have shipped, or also known to be on the water, we're looking at all of the open containers that are out there. I could drill down, open up the containers, and get more of that particular shipment. So we have one shipment. We could have multiple containers within that shipment. I think this one has 2. So we're getting that information as well, starting from the order to cash and kind of expanding out. All other tabs are existing B1 tabs. We did add the pricing and availability. Finally, the item inquiry tab, instead of looking at things from a perspective of a customer or a vendor, we're looking at it from an item. So I want to look at all of the open sales or purchase orders for Michael Scott paper. And with that, I have a number of open sales orders. If I have EDI, all the same things we talked about earlier. Same thing on the purchase order side. We've added a few extra tabs if there is any inventory transfers, and if you want to get visibility to the bin locations, production orders, and then if you have our inventory system, more about the forecasting and the usage of these items by item, by warehouse as well. Okay, just to finish up on the order to cash, we have developed a sales and purchasing analysis feature. We have 4 tabs across the top that they can start to do their reviews and their analysis upon. We have customer sales analysis. We have item sales analysis. We have salesperson sales analysis. We have vendor purchasing analysis. Once you have selected the grid, and let me just put it till today instead of the end of the year, from here, you're going to get a second row of tabs. So in this case, we're doing sales analysis by salesperson. I may want to focus in on a particular salesperson. Let me see how Amy is doing. So I'm just focusing in on Amy. And then I may want to look at, instead of orders, I may want to look at all quotes, orders, or invoices. I can then get further, more granular, and I could do it salesperson by item category, salesperson by customer category, so forth and so on. So we have about a dozen different selections that you could choose that will obviously change the data below for sales, cost, units, gross margin for whatever time period you've selected. You could do it by state, by warehouse, by manufacturer, and even in here, if you want to get very granular, you could look at how well Amy's doing for distributors, and maybe it's a specific product line that you want to focus in on for distributors, for Dunder Mifflin, that she hasn't done anything. But hopefully you get the idea. You could perform the same type of analysis on your purchasing. Good clean screen to get information quickly on numbers without having to drill down a lot. All right, now let's again now look at the container system. As I mentioned earlier, the container module is a module that will sit between the purchase orders that have been created inside of B1 as well as the PO goods receipt. With the container processing, you have a shipment. You could do AP reserve invoices, which is useful if the companies have to prepay. You have your estimated departure, arrival, and clearing dates. And then you have different statuses of shipments. So we have planned, so nothing has shipped yet. We've just gotten some information from the suppliers about shipment. We have shipped, it's at the port, it's cleared, it's cleared customs, we've received it. We've completed, which really locks the container from additional changes, and you can have void. For this particular transaction here, you're looking at 2 purchase orders from 2 different vendors. Okay, and you'll also see in here, it hasn't been changed, but we can have a purchase order quantity, but the shipment might be lower because the production plant may not have produced everything. You'll also see a column here for the unit cost and the landed unit costs. We have also built a what we call a projected landed cost feature, and this is taking SAP's landed cost. We're reviewing those landed costs. Here's a good one. And we're allowing you to start to accumulate landed costs in the same manner and the same distribution rules that SAP has provided. And we're letting you start to gather them earlier in the cycle. Once the container has been received and updated, we then pass the landed costs that we've captured here into SAP's landed costs. What this will do is it will give companies, importers, the capability to start to accumulate those landed costs earlier in the cycle, which is quite common. But also, if they want to look at what the landed cost per unit will be, they can also do that, again, earlier in the cycle. So this particular carrier, Hanjin Bob, it's already shipped. We have our estimated departure and arrival dates. It's on the water right now. And then we have our container breakdown. So in this case, we have 2 separate containers. We have a 20-foot and a 40-foot. We have tracking information, and then we have the products that are on those containers. We can split products that have been set up on the shipment across containers. So Michael Scott paper has been split across 2 separate containers here. So if something does happen, you have visibility to it. And then we have also links and extended remarks. Again, quite often there's documents that are associated with these transactions for importers. There's 2 ways to complete the process. One is when you do your receiving, it will be at the desktop, and when you do that, it will create a PO goods receipt for each respective vendor that's on this container, on this shipment. We have the same capability on the handheld. So if a container is received at a company and they're unloading it, we don't really have to worry about which purchase order it's associated to, because as we're scanning it, we've already established that connection. So that's our container management program. Let's now take a look at our data messenger. Now the data messenger I touched on earlier. we have quite a few features that really help just move data. So with that in mind, the data messenger, we have the transaction alerts, we have the query alerts. So the one we've set up right now is the top one is a purchase order. So it's manually triggered. That means that someone could go in and either on a schedule or on a right click trigger the alert. But what you could also do is you could have it on the add or the update. So, or if there's been an update would be a change to the purchase order and you want to notify the vendor automatically, you could do that. You could choose whether you want to create an activity, have it available in the order to cash, a variety of different things. But here's all the SAP transactions that we support, which I think are all of them. Also, you can put in a query. So if there's a certain parameter, you may not want to have all purchase orders. The recipients. This is where you can set up the recipients. Again, it could be a contact person, a user, a salesperson. It could be multiple people that you're sending this alert to, internal and external. And you could also, again, develop a query, a conditional statement that you're utilizing. So it maybe only be sent to certain people with a job title or location. When you're sending out the messages, so in this case it's an email message, it's a mixture of both standard text as well as SAP fields. A nice extra piece of functionality that we have is that you're able to always include a static attachment. So if it is some of your shipping rules, send out with this particular document. But then you can also send out the data in a variety of formats. So you can send it out and have it created as an Excel spreadsheet, a PDF. You can, if you are doing Excel, what kind of formatting you have, what's the fields that you're going to lay out here in the Excel sheet that you're exporting as part of this alert. And again, if you do want to save the attachment and create a subfolder for organizing, you can. So this is another piece of the email system that I think is a nice advantage. Two other things that we have the scheduler. So, the transactions are usually based off of a trigger of an event. And then if you use our scheduler, it could be running every few minutes. And then finally, if you do need to use FTP, whether it be your FTP site or if a customer or vendor wants it, you can then have the data sent up to an FTP site automatically. So there's a lot of uses for this. The query is very similar, but instead of based off a transaction, it's a query that you've created, consolidated or segregated alerts to be set up and executed. For our EDI system, we are doing, I think, a lot more than just importing and exporting transactions. We're actually, within the business process, we are allowing companies to kind of embed the EDI process within the pick-pack process and when you are building packages within Business One. So from the Business Partner Master, utilizing our system, you'll always see some extra tabs and information. If you had our AR collections, this is something I didn't mention earlier, but it's the same screen as before. Coming back for our EDI, I think we have Amazon set up as an EDI. You'll see a sub-window here, and it's just indicating the EDI transactions that we're doing for Walmart. Are we using the SAP packaging for the 856? Within the processing of the transactions, when do we want to send the 855? Do we want to do it after we do the pick list with the shipping lines? So again, that's where I was mentioning earlier. Notifications if transactions fail or if there's a pricing variation, who gets notified, both internal and external. And then you'll see here specifically for Amazon, if there's certain information in their data that is different than the setup in your customer system, you could set up these cross-references. In the example that we have 4 different ship-to locations that Amazon's providing in their data, but we've set them up as different named warehouses. So when we see 620, we know it goes to New Jersey and so forth. See that really for all information related to the transactions. You do not see the items here because we utilize the Business Partner Catalog. And finally, as kind of a catch-all and a capability to manipulate and enhance the transactions coming in from your EDI provider, your EDI partner, we give you the capability to add SQL statements and commands to the header and the line item. If there's certain rules and variables that you want to look for in the data that we haven't thought to capture and you want to do certain things with it, the SQL commands will let you do that. You're seeing that with this customer related to EDI, and just for the document delivery system that's part of the data messenger. You'll also see here for the configuration for each individual contact at a company, you could have different parameters for the forms that are going to be sent. So one company may have one specific form. One user may have a different form sent in a different format based off of these rules here. So the 3PL, much like the EDI, it's a similar design. And the 3PL, probably better to show you in the setup here. We have our initial third party I showed you earlier. This is for a warehouse. It's associated to a warehouse in B1. What's some of the rules that we have for this? The FTP site that we may be connecting to. The export path. So again, for demo purposes, we have it locally, but that could be an external IP address. Where we're receiving the information from, and then we have the notifications when 3PL transactions fail. On the import side, once we have a 3PL provider, we indicate the transaction, and we have the fields that we're mapping, and we can apply a HANA or SQL formula here at the line item level. We could also populate a static value at a line item level. So if there's something that B1's not capturing as part of the transaction, that's at the public warehouse, you can put it in there as hard-coded, if you will, with the static value that was sent to your 3PL. So that's your import and export's the same, and we have our scheduler. Once that is configured, you don't really need to do much unless somehow the data structure that the 3PL given you has changed. Again, it can go out automatically, or if you choose to review them and someone manually trigger it, you can select your orders that you want to export out. So it's automated and or can be manually triggered. Import and export of the data, and as well as the synchronization of business partners and item masters. So kind of looking at how we enhance the transactions and the movement of data so you can kind of make things as live as possible. Let's now take a look at our QC system. Again, I showed you earlier a little bit of our QC program, and then I'm going to get into our mobility solutions. The QC has, in this case, we've told that we want to have a QC process specifically for a goods receipt. Look at, double-click the line, so that this will drill down to the purchase order. For the line, the 18 will open up the inspection process, and for each item, you'll put your variables, so your observations here. So in this case, it's a color, it's a density, it's a weight, it's a measurement, whatever it might be. We're doing it specifically for a serial number. If we are using a specific testing tool and equipment, we can indicate which one we are utilizing. So this helps some scheduling and how often it's done. And then you have some attachments. So if like a scientific company or medical company and they've sent over some manual or some type of documentation, again, we have our attachments. We do provide the capability for the QC process, and you want to isolate it from inventory availability. We give you two options. One is when the items go into inspection, we have a QC warehouse that the users can't pick and sell from. Or you could do a QC bin, so the bin will not have items available for allocation. Once it's completed the process, then it gets moved back into a sellable bin or back into the warehouse which it was originally associated with. So we give you both of those options. The QC process is available also on mobility, so if it's a company that has equipment and you want to do QC returning large construction equipment, if you have something along those lines, you could perform the QC process on the tablet outside of the office. Let's touch now on equipment rental. Equipment rental provides the capability to do rental quotes, rental orders. Let's pull up a quote here. So you could do rental serialized, non-serialized. It could be for hourly, daily, weekly. You have a variety of different options. We are adding rentals. And with it, you have, with the whole rental process, we also have the items that are a rental warehouse, and once it's out of the system, we have a rented warehouse, so it gives you visibility to items that are being rented. We have yet to add it to the bin location level like we did for QC, but that is something that we will be doing. You could do automatic billing. There is certain, once a month that there's doing a billing, we could have that triggered out, as well as the association with the service tickets. So if there is maintenance that needs to go on for these items while they're being rented, you could perform that as well. Where I'd like to go into is the inventory replenishment. And again, this also just kind of hangs off the item master. So when you're looking at some of your items here, I think we have some of our items. We did some of the. Okay. So here's one of the items, and again, if you want to get to it from, let me just turn that off. What we do is for the item master, you're going to see in there another option. So when you come into the item master, you select your warehouse. You have a warehouse item planning button, which is overlapping a little bit. But nonetheless, you see for this item, for this warehouse, the replenishment rules that have been established. So we add things like order point, line point. We have default replenishment method. So when we run low in this warehouse and we hit our replenishment point, do we buy it, make it, or transfer it? The system automatically assigns moving classes to items over time based off of the usage for the items in the warehouse, with movement class 1 through 4 or 5 being your top moving items in this warehouse for the item, and movement class 10 through 13 are essentially your slow and dead stock. Movement class 14 just says you're not tracking the movement classes on this, or hasn't been established yet. You have your order point and line point as well as your min and max, and then you'll set up your safety multiplier. Your targeted inventory turns. The system will also assign the forecast ranking for this item as the top 80% of the sales, A, B, C's, and D's. And then you have the forecasting formula you might wish to use for this item. So yeah, these are the replenishment rules I was mentioning earlier that we include. And we're also tracking your usage each month. And the qualified usage is really allowing you to override the monthly usage from a replenishment perspective. So if there's some unusual activity and a spike or a dip in usage for the item for a time period, you can override the numbers from a replenishment perspective. The other thing that we add, which is useful, is you can import your usage. So if it's a new customer and they wish to bring in their usage from their previous system, but you don't want to bring in all the historical information into B1, you could use that feature to bring in your usage for those items. Once you've established your replenishment rules for the items, there's a few key features that your customers will utilize. One, your surplus stock is your overstock. We can look at our procurement and our forecasting report, but with only a few minutes left and we're running a little bit late on our time here, I'm going to focus in on 2 key reports which really support the Gordon Graham model, and these are reports that he's designed, if you will, as far as what he wants in these reports. So the demand action report are going to show you items that have fallen below their replenishment points. So you need to give them immediate attention. The replenishment reports are just same design, but it's really items that are at their replenishment point based off of some safety allowances, lead times, forecasts, and so forth. We need to buy these items now so we don't fall below. So looking at the demand action report, you will see a screen. And now this screen is more of a worksheet than a report. If I'm a buyer and I want to filter in on only my vendors, if I want to focus in on a specific vendor or item group, do I want to focus on things I need to buy, make, or transfer? But for now, I'm going to display everything. It takes a moment, does its calculations for its recommendations. And you'll see here lots of items that we need to buy. A whole lot from North Star, so we're running low on our clothing. What I'll do is I'm going to look, and I'm only going to focus for now on Far East imports. And you'll see I have 4 line items I need to purchase. It's giving me all the information I showed you earlier. Your order point, line point, if it's been set up, your min-max, buying targets for the items, any transactions that are on open sales order, open sales blanket orders, purchase orders, and then you're getting over here. And you can, as with all B1 and our modules, you can move the columns around, but you're getting your suggested quantities. If there were some buying targets that might give some extra discounts, you can then increase your quantities here. So just for argument's sake, I'll round everything up. Okay. Now from here, I can simply just select the items I want to select to create the purchase order. I can create a purchase order if I kept the settings on where I want to still allow it to create a production or transfer. I can do that. I can see the SAP available to promise. And now it's saying, do you want to create the purchase order? We need to put a message that the PO number has been created, but it has been created. So if I go into the purchase orders here, and probably the next one, you'll see here from the demand action report, this purchase order has been created automatically. So we've gone through our replenishment. We've created the purchase order. You have your document delivery if you want to email it out to the vendors from here. You could use our data messenger for automatically triggering that email sent to the customer, to the vendor. Sorry, load day. So you can incorporate a lot of our modules together. And then if it is something that's going to go into a container, you can then come in and build the container with that from that PO. If it's going to go to a public warehouse, you can, that's going to be received in. That can tie in as well as can the QC process. So I'm going to finish up two notes I have here that I didn't hit that I want to touch on is the apparel, the style piece, as well as the cross-sell. And again, you'll see them incorporated to the sales order. And we'll do our friends at Centerport. And for our cross-sell item, we'll do our style first. Some of the quantities on the style I do need, as you saw in the demand action, I need to buy. So it may yell at me so when I get some of these styles, but I'll walk through it. We list out the styles at the bottom, but we also let you tab off. So I'm tabbing that particular column for a style. So I'm going to select style here, hoping I get better quantities than the top ones we've been using. So that's my first style. Then from that, it's now reducing the colors. And these are all UDFs in B1, so it doesn't have to be style, size, color. It could be other attributes in building items. So we're going to do black. Okay. And in this case, what size do I want? So it's probably a shirt since it's not giving me a length. So I'll do 5 smalls, 5 mediums, 6 large, and 7 extra large. You'll look at the pricing. So if there is different pricing for larger sizes, you'll also get your availability. So it is going to yell at me for these 3 lines since I'm negative. I'm okay on that one. Shows me the line item details. So these are really the SKU numbers behind the scenes. And then you have your past sales. You'll also see in there what we call the item check. The item check, it will look for duplicate line items. So if it is a very large order, someone's taking over the phone, you want to double check, you could look at any duplicate lines that were created. And as mentioned, you'll see here that I'm going to have some problems with these 3 line items. So I can change to available, which will not help me. I can backorder the remaining, backorder complete, style complete for the complete style, ship complete, backorder complete date, and so forth. So what I'll do is I'll still kind of let those go, and the SAP standard item availability will pop up. So I'm really going to be able to fill that one line item. Okay. But you'll see here's the 4 line items being created automatically. And again, we've had people use this for other purposes, outside of the apparel industry. Something else that I mentioned earlier, talked a little bit about our order reservation system. So this item, I think we have it. One too many zeros. So we've got our friend Michael Scott. If your customers allow their salespeople to do the order reservations, if we don't have enough, you can simply right-click and open up the order reservations window. I mean, let's go down the line. I don't think. Okay. Does that one not have one? may need to add a line here. Let's see. What's that one? That item might not have anything. I may have already received it. Let me just double check one more time. I'll give you the reservations now. Please select the row. There we go. That was easy. So here's your item. Here's how much you have in stock. If you have purchase orders, it will display those purchase orders as well. So I can allocate it against stock. If there's POs, you can come in and change the amount that you want to reserve from here. The other thing in the sales screen that we've added is the cross-sell. So when you are going in and you want to have that upsell feature as part of the way to promote sales, so we'll do, I think it's MC6 is one of them we had. We did that one. And really, it's rather simple, but it is useful for companies. Once you do an adding of the line, I think was that it. Let me try another one here. I mean, I had the right item. Or the other thing that it does do that we set up is if you don't have enough inventory for the item, what it will do is it will not show those items. And if there's no inventory at all, so let me come through and just see another cross-sell item. Let's try the... Okay, and again, I'm out of inventory, so it may not show me the window. All right, so it's a simple window that it does pop open and shows you an upsell. We wonderful it had it now, but I'm out on both items for the accessories. Again, you'll see our packing, our document delivery. Covered most all the pieces inside of the Resolv system. Segue into the mobile solution. And what I'd like to do is first give them a little bit of a foundation of how we've gone about working with Business One. As you look at our data, as you look at what we've done as far as our setup to help our partners and our own salespeople, you will see that on the foreign description, we have indicated whether it's a warehouse item that supports multiple units of measure, is it a serial, a batch, a 3PL, a QC item, whatever it might be. And this is also associated with the demo documentation that you'll receive to help. But again, when you're doing a demonstration, you're trying to look for that right item to perform a certain task. We find this is useful. And keeping with what we did earlier with our friend Michael Scott, you'll see that's one of our good WMS items for multiple units of measure. And we're looking at SAP's barcodes. So standard SAP, we're looking at these barcodes. Once we read these barcodes, we're then receiving in a specific unit of measure for that item. So the paper, this would be a pallet, a ream, or a case. So we'll support the multiple units of measure process throughout. We're reading those fields. We're also reading from the warehouse the bin locations, and we are looking at this field here. Sorry, so I have it called bin 1. Let me just call it bin 2. So by just simply reading that and changing that, like on my demo system and I'm standing in front of bin 2 and I scan it or type it, it's changed that fast. So this is giving me the content in my quick search there. That was giving me the contents of bin 2 and the items in there. So I'll come back to that momentarily. The other thing that I mentioned earlier that we're honoring too is the item restrictions. So if it has been set up in B1 where a specific item can only go in that bin location, or classes of items, or groups of items I should say, sorry. If there's UM restriction, BATS, etc., we are honoring all of these rules here. And again, here's the QC side of things that I mentioned earlier. So that's all that we're doing, and really if you have clients that are already using Business One and you have set up most of this information here, to get our WMS live is not a huge task because we're utilizing the information and the functionality in standard Business One. Before I come out of here, I do want to touch base a little bit on the functionality related to 2D barcode items. So if you're not familiar with how the 2D barcodes are created and how we can utilize them, kind of give you a quick introductory. We provide the capability to support the 2D barcodes. So here's an item that is a serialized item. It could be a batch, it could be anything. But your manufacturers have designed these 2D barcode to hold multiple levels of information as opposed to just one SKU number or one serial number or one batch number. So in our setup, once you understand the design of that particular barcode, we give you the capability to map and match it so you could utilize it throughout the process. So for this one item, we set up we have these templates. So we have what we call for 2D serial batch and another serial default. And simply what it's doing is saying it's going to be a CS, it's going to be a comma that separates the data. So in the data string, we're going to have the item number, and we know it's going to be a serial number, but we're going to have an item number, a quantity of barcodes that we're going to be looking for, which represent the serial numbers. So in the example that we've created, we're going to have this item number with a quantity of 20, and I need to know that I'm going to get 20 serial numbers after this barcode. If not, it rejects it. It rejects it as a bad barcode. If there's duplicates, it will let you know that that serial number has already been received. Again, there's additional pieces to get into related to the B1 pieces, but what I'd like to do is to give you an idea. Let's just go in and we'll cut a PO, and we're going to cut a PO to Dunder Mifflin, and we will do it by item for now. And we're going to be buying some Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute paper, and that's our multiple units of measure. So we'll do 10 and 5. And then also for our 2D barcode, again, we'll do 10. All right, so that will be our transaction. I could do it for a serial number if I want to. I'm going to do the other. I'll receive one of them in. Okay, so that's PO 12688 coming to WMS. And again, you could use any kind of device that supports HTML5. Again, Android and Apple are most popular. Windows 10 mobile also is supported as well. And you'll see as we go from screen to screen, when we go into a window, you'll see that the screens have been resized appropriately. We also provide the capability to run in compact mode, which actually reduces the font even more on here. And I'll talk more about how we can tweak this a little bit more for some of the mobile devices that are available. We have our picking, which come from SAP's Pick Pack Manager, so we can do picks of sales orders, reserve invoices, productions, transfers. We've also added a new packing system. We have the receiving, which I'm going to get into first, for our PO receiving and our container receiving, if you have our container module. Inventory management, so this is where you can do goods issues, goods receipts, transfers, bin transfers, in-transit picks, receiving, and you can do some bin maintenance if you want to change some parameters on the bin. You have your SAP production orders. You have SAP for physical inventory, so you may want to have your rules that you're defining in B1 and send out to people to do their bin counts or physicals and cycle counts. And as I mentioned, you have the QC piece here as well. So if you want to do your quality control process on the tablet, you can do that on the tablet to do your inspections. So let's come back to the PO that I want to receive in. All right, a few things worth mentioning. One is I know my own experience in trying to sell warehouse management solutions. One of the objectives or objections we get is that companies don't have all of their items with barcodes on it. And with traditional barcode systems, that kind of could have been a hurdle to selling them and implementing a WMS. Since we have a different type of technology and different types of hardware that we can provide, having barcodes on the items are absolutely useful, and we'll benefit from that, but not necessary. So a few of these line items I'll also do just looking and searching so that you get an idea. So I'm looking at the purchase order. Looking at the PO, you see all your different POs here. You'll see some extra icons here, and I'll explain them to you. One is if you have lots of transactions and you want to just do a search for a specific transaction, so you can search by document warehouse, by vendor number, but I want to search by vendor name, and again I'll do Dunder, and there's Dunder Mifflin and all their open POs. You're also going to see gears. And this is where I was mentioning earlier, if you have a smaller device and you want to save as much room as possible, so maybe in this scenario you don't need to show the vendor name or the vendor number. Maybe you want to keep the vendor name but not the number. And if you only have one warehouse at the customer, you can really skinny it down. And when you look at that on a device, again, it's a whole lot cleaner when you're working on your documents. So in this case, we're going to do our 12688. I'm old and my eyes aren't so good, so I'm going to go back. And in here, you have your various line items. I'm going to run it as a quick scan, which will make the whole process a bit faster. There's some shortcuts that I'll discuss. As mentioned, if you don't want to scan, if you don't have bin location scan, maybe you have some of the items, you have our searches. I'm clicking, but it could also be on the touch screen on the tablet. I'll bring it into this bin location. Now, what item am I receiving? When I'm looking to do my receiving, what I'll first do, now I have my 2D barcodes that I printed out. Again, I like running the quick mode. Okay, what bin location? So in this case, now I have a bin location. What item? I'll scan that 2D barcode. And what you're seeing is it's passing through the item number, the quantity, and the serial numbers. So it was 20, and it was for the first one I did. So you're seeing that come in. If I want to hide finish, since I have a lot of items, I could do that. On this other one, I didn't actually create all my barcodes in 2D. So what I'll do is do my 20. Actually, I'll just do 5 with regular barcode scan with the 1D. So just come across 4, 5. So I got to get rid of those serial numbers. Okay. Now I have my last few items. Again, we could do the different units of measure. So in this case, I'll receive in a ream of paper. Let me just say it's 5. It's going to go in one bin location. Shows my partial receiving. Again, scan or select the bin location that you want. That bin was not found. Yes, here. There we go. So there's the bin location. What item is it going to be? Search, select, whatever. So this way I'll scan it. Okay, and we have it set up. Now what you'll see here, we have one of the flags that is adding to the cases. So as I continue to scan the case barcode, it's just going to add. So right now I have 1.5 because I did a few of those reams, which I'll round off in a second. But I'm just going to continue to trigger, and you can see the line items continuing to go up for this product. And again, I'll now move on to my next item, and let me just get rid of this here. We'll receive those in. And I just want to fix that and put it and get those other 5 reams in. Okay, so we just have a partial receipt on that. Okay, the PO is done. Finish. We'll post it. This is using the service layer, but again, it's very quick. And if you do the refresh feature, you'll see these line items, the font's a little bit low, the tint's on a little bit low, but these lines are closed. Okay, if you want to look at there's your PO goods receipt. That was created at 10:59. It still is 10:59. If you want to look at those barcodes from the 2D barcode, you can look at the serial transaction report, and there's all the barcodes that were part of that 2D. Okay. Few other things worth mentioning. We have done the development, and we're starting to include the capability to take pictures with these devices within the transactions, so that you can do a PO receiving, returns, the QC process, and have the capability to have them as attachments. We are also going to, when we do this and complete it, is have it where you could be at the header level for the document as well as the line item level for the images. But now we've done our goods receipt, and again, that's all quick. It's real time, and it is impressive. And we've done the purchasing side. Let's kind of go through the sales side. What we're doing is we're using the Pick Pack Manager. For your companies as partners, if there's some enhancements that your customers want in the picking process, and you want to do some changes or have us do some changes, as long as those changes result in the creation of an SAP pick ticket, then we're going to be able to read them. Now, there may be some times where you're adding extra fields and so forth. We may need to do some screen enhancements on the devices, but the design and what we've done is said, let the user put all their different parameters in the Pick Pack Manager, and in the end, create an SAP pick ticket. And then from that, that's what we're going to read and that's what we're going to process. So again, if there's some unique picking methodology or allocation rules that your prospects may have, to then incorporate that into our WMS shouldn't be a monumental task. Again, we might have some local programming to do on the tablets so we can get some fields, but you know, it shouldn't be tremendous. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to do a quick order, and actually I have some from earlier today, so I'll just duplicate those orders. What I'd like to do is I'm going to do a pick ticket, and I'm going to do a wave pick. And quite often you hear wave or zone picks when companies are looking for WMS, and with what the functionality that SAP's done with the Pick Pack Manager, you can support both of those functionalities as well as others. So I have one sales order here, 1505 for Michael and Dwight's paper. I'm going to duplicate that for a few other customers, our friends at Earthshaker, and we'll do another, 23 and for Michael for his, and 44 for Dwight. We'll do a delivery date. We're running out of these inventory, so we'll do 4 for Dwight. Okay, so we'll do our delivery date here. So that's doing the address verification as part of our shipping system, and you'll also see, you'll be able to start looking at our package level details. So here's the items. Since it's cases of paper, they are individual packages, but if similar to the container management system, you could have one package that has products in multiple products within that package. So that's kind of an earlier preview of the packaging system that we're including. Okay, so we have those two orders, 15105, 15106, and I think 15104 is also open. So let's go into the Pick Pack Manager and we'll do a wave pick. In your Pick Pack Manager, we'll run our parameters here. Okay. All right, so here's the ones I want to focus in on. Again, 103, 4, and 5, and 6. So I'm going to look to pick all of these items. Here's the open amount, the amount that we're going to receive. Release, we'll do the release to pick. I may want to select specific zones or bins or aisles that I want to allocate these items or pick from. This is where you can now look to do a breaking down the pick tickets and creation of individual pick tickets. Again, for a zone, a group of items, again, a specific territory or location within the warehouse. I'm going to have it broken down by items. You have your SAP allocation rules here. We'll just leave them as defaulted. And now you're seeing 2 pick tickets. Number 14 and 15 have been created, and you'll see them in the Pick Pack Manager now. When I look at, let's say, 14, you're going to see 4 line items from 4 different customers for the same product within the WMS. You'll see your pick ticket, and you'll see all the customers for that pick ticket. We are providing the capability to let you consolidate those lines at the bin location level. So in the example that we have here, we would look to consolidate. If you flip that flag on, we would actually send the picker to this bin location, and it will show 60 that he needs to pick, and then these would remain their own individual lines because they're coming out of different bin locations. So it will keep it like this, or it will let you keep it as a or consolidate them by item, by bin. Again, same process as before. I'll do the quick scan. I'll hide finished, make it a little bit easier, and now I'll scan my first bin location. What's my item? Again, it's I don't know if I had Okay, so you're same as before. So we add it, go to our bin. Let's go fast here for you so you can kind of close the process. Okay. And you saw the quantities that the customer ordered was defaulted. There, again, that's a flag whether you want to scan up or you want to have it default as that quantity. If you want to see the details, you can see the details. I'm finished this order, but before I do that, just as a kind of an FYI, that quick search I showed earlier, I can search for serial numbers, I can search for batches, I can look at contents of a bin location. So if I want to look at a bin location, I can scan or type a bin location, it will show me the contents within that bin location. I want to get the details, and the tabs across the top, we are going to continually add to those to that menu to give you additional information about locations, about items, whatever it might be. If you're looking up and you've scanned an item and you want to know more information about that item, you do the same. It will list the bin locations in the warehouse, so you get your bin location breakdown here. And again, you'll soon see the images that have been associated with it and the attachments that have been indicated that they're going to be available for mobility. So if you want to pull up in a PDF or some other kind of document when you're doing your picking or production, that will be in there as well. So again, I believe we're finished all the lines. We're good. Come back into B1 and kind of let it paste. And let's finish that one, 15. That's 14. Yeah, that's 14. Okay, there's all the lines that have been picked. And we are giving you the option to automatically turn it to a delivery or turn it into an invoice. As many of you know, in the warehousing arena for distributors, the next step in this process might not be a delivery or an invoice, but it may go to a packing station. So we have a new packing, that packing capability. You'll be able to indicate that you want to do a pack as well from here. There it is. So if I want to do a pack right now, I can now create a pack and do a breakdown. So if it is many items, let's say it's serialized items, it's smaller commodity products, you can start building your packages here. After you do your pick, you can do your pack, your ship, then does the final integration to the shipping carriers. And again, that's also available on the mobile solution. Okay, so you've gotten hopefully a good idea on the WMS side of things. A few other things that we are doing. We're including analytics that we showed in Orlando and Barcelona. So there's also analytics that Fiori and kind of whole HANA development environment provides us for graphs and analytics. So the managers will have the capability to get some breakdowns on their tablet of number of picks for the day, number of back orders, and those are all also generated from the SAP query, so they are pretty easy to create. I think that's the main pieces I want to hit on the picking and packing. A lot of it's going to be duplicated across the board. Few other pieces, as I mentioned, you can run in that compact mode. So if it's a smaller device, we just bring down all the screen sizes and the fonts. We have different themes. We have different languages. So right now we've translated it into 7 languages. To translate it into another language is really not that difficult. We were happy that we were able to translate it into Asian languages because part of that was there were some challenges there, but we can easily translate it into another language. So if you do have some opportunities that do want to run it in a language we haven't converted yet, we'll be happy to work with you. Some other defaults that you may want to put in for the user, their defaults for hide, finish, quick scan, just show me my pack list, and if we want to lock them into a specific warehouse, we could do that as well. So again, we're very excited by this warehouse management system. I think it's something unique in our market, and again, it's very well received by customers and prospects. We've actually been very happy with the sales we've had so far. Okay, so we have a few more minutes to walk through a few other final pieces of the software. Again, we have individual demonstration environments that we will start shipping this week for HANA. We do ask that you be on 9.2 PL3. We will not ship it for anything but PL3. If you do need a demonstration environment here, we do offer a temporary VM session for one user per company. Again, we're not a cloud provider, so we have multiple VM servers, so we can provide you a short-term solution while you're getting your own internal systems going. Please get in touch with me, and I'll get you in contact with the right people at Achievement Solutions. And again, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time today for out of their busy schedule to go through the system. Hope you found it beneficial, and do look forward to working with you in the near future. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.